Yeah, they have a tradition where the first day you enter the dojo as a young lion, you shave your head, right? And that you only do it once. It's a tradition that they started right from the beginning, and it's still going. So when I went in there, I shaved my head, and this is how tough it is. My hair never grew back. That's how stressed and how tough the training was. Ever since then, my hair never grew back. It grows back, but not the way I like
Same here. Well,
it.
not for the same reason, but yeah, I get you.
That's what I mean. Like, of course, my family has, bald-headed, my brothers and of course my dad, but most of them lose it in their mid thirties, late thirties. I was still in my 20s. I was 29, so when I shaved it and went through that training, it never grew back proper because I was so stressed out and so mentally exhausted. But it's very tough over there because I believe up until today, till today, I mean, I'm still the only foreigner who's done it 100% as a young lion. The guys who have come close, I'd say maybe Jay White and Hikuleo and Henare, but I'm not sure. Maybe a few guys after that, but 100%, I can still say nobody's gotten to my level because nobody speaks Japanese yet.
Do you feel like, you said like you were feeling very stressed and pressure and everything like that going through there? What was the thing that was stressing you out the most? Was it like thinking this is my last opportunity to do something as an athlete in my life? Do I have to go back home? Do I have to get, like, what was it that was stressing you out the most?
That was all part of it. My one of my main driving factors is that I was told I couldn't do it. Right? I became the first foreigner to complete it because I wanted to prove people wrong, especially the Japanese. Because once I made that tryout and got in, the rugby media ran with it because they've never had a rugby player back in the 60s, I think. But it's a foreigner rugby player getting into a New Japan Pro Wrestling, the biggest, the most famous one in Japan. And once that media thing went out, I had all the messages coming in saying, Japanese guys can't even do it. Why do you think a foreigner can? And just lit a freaking fire under my. And I said to everyone, you know what? I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna do this, and I won't give a fuck. So that meant swallowing my pride or leaving my pride outside the door and doing everything that the Japanese were doing because once while I was in there, they still try to give me special treatment because I was a foreigner, but I
Yeah.
refused. When they say 1,000 squats, Fale, maybe you do 300 because you're big. I said okay, and I just go stand next to the Japanese and do 1,000 with them, and that's how you become part of it. And they saw me as a Japanese because I did all that stuff. Because if they see you as a foreigner coming in to train, they're going to treat you as a foreigner, and the level of respect is very different. If you're seen as a Japanese, they'll respect you like a Japanese. But if you're a foreigner, they'll see you as a foreigner and respect you as a foreigner. But it's not as good as being Japanese.
Did you feel like at the start of your training that they did go harder on you because you were coming from that rugby world? Did you feel like that he tried to break you at any point? Because like you hear the stories of like, back in the day with wrestling trainers and stuff like that, they'd have someone come in and it's like, all right, what I mean? Like they'd try and blow them up, then stretch them out. And what I mean? Like, did you feel like they tried to push you to your limits to try and push you out of the business at the start?
I did. Um, but the thing is, they do it to everyone. There's no favoritism. If 20 guys came in as young lions, they'll try and get rid of all 20 and see who's tough enough to stick around. Which, like I said, if you're a foreigner, they'll give you an easy time. But I didn't want. I wanted them to see me as Japanese. So whatever they did to the Japanese, I made sure I wanted to be part of it. When they would slap a Japanese around, I stood right next to it so I can get slapped because I wanted to show them, hey, I want this. This is what I want. And then they saw me as Japanese, treated me like one, and respecting me like one.
Yeah. And that's a big thing, like getting that respect from them as well, because like the Japanese culture is very, very like based on respect for a lot of like for the most part of it as well. I don't know how many people would want to step to you, Fale, and want to slap you. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not that. I'm not going to be one of those people that want to put my hand up for that job. But you know, as far as then, like you know, going through that dojo process, like who was like some of the names that you were training with in there at that time?
Oh man, I had everyone. I had Shinsuke Nakamura. I had Nagata. We had Liga. Man, pretty much everyone. Tanahashi would come in sometimes. Makabe would be there. Jaro, Gero, Izuka, Goto. Man, pretty much everyone was there helping us out. Um, Carl Anderson, yeah. Finn Balor. That's the beauty about the New Japan Dojo is you got all the top guys helping you become a wrestler. Where it's very tough, and you know, like other companies, it's hard to get one of the top guys to come around and give you a hand or whatever, show you the ropes. Well, I was lucky. I was so lucky because I got young lions in Japan are lucky because they get to learn from everybody.
And I suppose it's good
And
as well being. I suppose it's good as well being a foreigner and having like other foreigners who are the top stars coming in as well, where it's like it's just another person who's like on the same like communication level as you know what I mean? Like you know, speaking English, that sort of thing is like, especially in a country which is so like I said, speaking a completely opposite language to what you're mainly used to.
yeah, that's true.
Yeah. How did so like making your debut in New Japan Pro Wrestling, like because I think like you started training in 2009, 2010 you made your debut. Um how did you feel going into that first match?
Very, very scary. And not many people know this in Japan. They don't teach you how to do pro wrestling until you get in the ring. Where I never learned how to do a lockup until 2 weeks before I debuted. When they said you're debuting, go ask Carl Anderson to teach you how to lock up.
Oh wow.
It's honest. At the time, the guy I debuted against was Nakanishi Manabu. And at that time, because that guy was I think a bronze medalist wrestler in the Olympics, and that guy he was about what 41, 42 at the time, best physique you'd ever see from a big guy. He was 140 kilos, and they made me debut against him in front of 2,000 people at Korakuen Hall, and I had no idea how to wrestle. So this guy beat the shit out of me. I couldn't eat for a week after that because my jaw was like this.
Because you debuted as King Fale, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, right. Like what was the like who came up with the King Fale gimmick? Was that like over there, like did they give you enough like did it give you the freedom to come up with your own gimmick and character?
Because King Haku was really uh, well known in Japan, they gave it to the what do you call it? When they announced I was debuting, they made it a fanfare where fans can send them names where they think where I can have a look at all these names and choose one from them. So most most of the names that came up was had a king on it, just because King Haku was you know from Japan and wrestled in Japan.